Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with the Vagina Doc. I am your host, Dr. Jocelyn Conley. I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist and I am the owner of the Vagina Doc Physical Therapy and Wellness, a mobile physical therapy business in Scottsdale, Arizona, online coaching services, online wellness services, and online rehab for Arizona residents. So today has been such an interesting day so far. I wake up at 4:30 and I started after this weekend and all of the realizations that I came to on my last mastermind meeting. It was a virtual meeting. I realized that in order to live out my life principles, I needed to do a better job blocking my schedule, blocking time for the things that I considered non-negotiable, that to fill my cup, essentially, to take care of myself. So I got back to personal development in the morning. So I woke up 4:30, CrossFit at 5 to 6, and then I walked my dog, throw frisbee with my dog Louie, and then I sat down and ate breakfast in silence, no music, no phone, and then after that which was awesome, sitting down at a table and not having music and just sitting in silence was really awesome. And it's so easy to think about like all the things I want to do today and I'll like let my mind race, but I just sat there and focused on all the things that I was grateful for with that meal specifically, which was super amazing to be present with eating, because usually I'm like 2 bites, everything's gone. So I'm going to really try to do that at each meal, because I'm eating on the fly, eating in my car, eating and doing 100 things, and that just doesn't work. Not for long, at least. And then after that, I have a journal that basically is a self-guided journal. It's the High Performance Habits Journal. That book is life-changing. And so I did that, which was amazing. And then my schedule is basically blocked out. I have this blocked out till 8. And so, that's what I've been up to. And I feel more at peace with myself and more just healthy. And I mean, it's so easy to just immerse myself in my career because I love it so much. But my mantra that I developed a while ago is work to live, don't live to work. So, on to today's topic. So this morning while I was at CrossFit, something happened and it inspired me for today's topic. Today at CrossFit inspired me to the subject that I'm going to talk about, and it's on anger. Anger is an interesting thing, and it's something that I'm very, very, very familiar with. Looking back on my life, I was a really angry child and a really angry teenager and angry young 20. I think I was really angry until I was like 20, 21. And it came back in pieces and in situations in my life, and it always had worried me, like, am I going to revert back to my old ways? And so the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because a lot of people that I work with in the early phases become frustrated and express frustration or those negative type of emotions as they're in the early phases of learning because of mistakes and, the time that it's taking. So I wanted to talk about it today because how much, if you let that be the dominant emotion, it can really hold you back in your learning and your growth. So anger, expressing anger, frustration, dissatisfaction, that all requires energy. Think about it. Think about how much energy think about a time where you expressed anger, or whether that's to your kids, your dogs, whatever. And think about your energy before, when you're in a state of joy or presence, at peace, versus when you are frustrated. So when I was a basketball player and something didn't go my way, I'd get real, like a referee called a foul on me or something. I'd get really angry, and I would say it underneath my breath, and I'd swear, I'd roll my eyes, I'd express anger some way. It was bad in middle school, and then high school I learned to rein that in a little bit, but it was still there. And I remember one time, this was definitely middle school, I actually freaked out at practice. And I had a coach who was ex-military, or maybe still in the military. He was this huge guy, 6'5", NFL football player size in muscle. And he got in my face and he put me in my place. And I'll never forget the feeling that I had at that point. And I remember saying to myself, you need to change. People from my past would tell me, whoa, what are you so angry about? Or my mom and sister would always say, you're so miserable. And people would tell me that I had anger issues. And they were so right. But it was so much deeper, the anger was so deep-rooted in insecurities and things that I was unsettled with in my life. So it wasn't as simple as you need to get over your anger or you need to go to anger management. It was okay, what were those deep things that were driving these behaviors? And as I became aware of them and able to acknowledge and unravel and untangle them, it was easier for me to let go. But at the time, the energy I spent expressing my anger and frustration just took away from all the things I could have accomplished and could have learned at that time. And letting that go was so challenging, and it took time, but it has been so freeing. Unbelievably freeing. One time, so this morning at CrossFit, the workout was a long one. It was 160 double unders, then 800-meter run, then 20 burpees over barbell. That was one round, and then the next thing you moved on to was 80 double unders, 400-meter run, 20 burpees over barbell, and that you did twice. And then the last thing you did was 40 double unders, 200-meter run, and then 10 burpees over barbell, and you did that 3 times. Well, I was talking during the warm-up. I was being rude, and I wasn't paying attention, and I missed that there was 2 rounds and then 3 rounds. So I go through, I did the first one, and then I did the second one, and then I did 1 round, the third, and Rob's like, are you done already? And then I was like, what? And I was confused at the time because my friend we were basically at the same pace, and she was then suddenly not with me, and she was still on that second round of the 80, 400 meter, and the 20 burpees. And so at that point, if this were 2 years ago, I would have been so annoyed and so frustrated with myself. I would have been like, oh, you're so stupid, or what? Why don't you ever pay attention, or some other negative self-talk. And that would have then transferred over to my double unders, and I would probably kept messing up. And then when I was a beginner learning double unders, I would always mess up, and I would say, like, I would swear in under my breath or even louder. I'd stomp off. I'd throw my rope. And I remember one of the coaches, Dom, was like he'd laugh, and I forget what he said, like how in it, but it really did click with me. And I'm like, wow, he's right. And so I eventually found a book called The Daily Stoic, which is a daily reading on just a life. It's a philosophical reading about life. And that was the jump start of my anger recovery. Even at work, when I had so many notes, I would just decline, not with my patients, but like on my own. And it was so energy consuming and so just destructive, all the energy I put into that. So when I found the Daily Stoic, it required me I read the reading, I got the journal with it, and so I'd write things in after I read the reading, and then at night, journaled about how I lived my life in that day's philosophical reading. And so that was my transformation. And so today, whenever Rob told me that, I'm like, oh, no big deal. I'll just go back. After I finish this round, I'll go back to round 2, and then I'll resume. And then there were times, like the first round of 160 double unders, my rope hit my leg. And it's the plastic, that casing is getting worn, so some of the wires sticking out, and it cut me. And it was no big deal. It's like, okay, reset. And so now whenever I get angry, my first go is, it's like millisecond I want to get angry. Like something happens, something goes wrong, I want to get angry. It is so, as time has gone on, I've recovered and gotten over that initial like negative energy so much faster. It used to be like I had to take a minute and breathe, and then it was less than a minute, and then it was like 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, second, and now it's not even a full second, and I'm already moved on to how can I learn from this, and how can I reset my intention. And man, has my learning and growth just it's exploded. And so one of my newest discoveries is this meditation. It's Above and Beyond Spoken Word with Elena Brower. And spoken word is a form of poetry. It's so beautiful, but she says, like, how many times have we spent railing at the world for railing at our kids or railing at whatever for things that go wrong? And then when you find this sense of flow, this positive energy state, and you practice and you keep coming back to that, it's easier to stay in this sense of this area of peace, this area of stable energy, even when the world becomes so messy like it is right now. And that is a really, really amazing feeling. And a great feeling to become clear in your thoughts, in your mission, in your relationships, and everywhere else. So whether or not you're working with me or someone else, I encourage you to reflect on your behaviors when something goes wrong. What energy starts surfacing? And if it is anything like anger, whether anger, frustration, or do you start talking negatively to yourself? Oh, I'm so stupid. What's wrong with me? Why can't I get this? how can you develop triggers or not, I don't want to, maybe triggers can be used to perceived negatively, but how can you reset? Like, what can you do in your life to reset yourself so that you can return to that peaceful state of energy? Or how can you more consistently get into the state of peace with yourself, where you're forgiving of your mistakes, you're okay with letting go control? Because here's the thing. If we're not learning, if we're not growing, we're not living. So every mistake, everything, every riff in our day is an opportunity to reset our bodies, reset our minds, reset our spirits, reset our whole being, so that we can resume life more presently and in a state where we're going to learn quicker, more swiftly. So when you're working with me and I'm trying to help you change behaviors and change and learn new movement patterns, we're also working on your mind and your spirit, because it's often the mind and the spirit that hold people back from growing in their physical selves in the world. So if you're watching this and you're watching this on the replay, and this is, you are learning something, or something resonates with your soul, please put that in the comments. Hey Cash, good to see you this morning. And I would love to hear your takeaway here. Hope you have a wonderful Tuesday, wonderful rest of your week. I hope that you remember this message when something goes, when that energy, the frustration energy, the angry energy, the energy that makes you want to curse yourself or the world. Hope you remember this message and you reset and resume more presently. See you next time on Real Talk with the Vagina Doc.